Imagine the suffocating wheat inside that locker room in Nashville right now. For the casual fan sitting at home with a cold drink, a Sunday night preseason game is just a relaxed glimpse at the team. It's a low-stakes evening of football. But for the men fighting on the brutal, unforgiving fringes of a 53-man roster, this isn't just a game. This is a high-speed collision with their own professional mortality. In this NFL Nexus explainer, we're going to strip away the illusion of a meaningless exhibition. We're transforming this standard matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the Tennessee Titans into exactly what it is behind closed doors, a physically punishing, do-or-die job interview for three specific players who are desperately fighting for their NFL lives. So let's pull back the curtain and dive into the absolute shadows of this roster.
With the regular season rushing at us like a freight train, this is the ultimate, heavy question hanging over the entire organization. The mathematics of the National Football League are deeply unsympathetic, honestly. Every single year, over 1,000 men lose their livelihoods in a devastating 48-hour window when cutdown day arrives. You can have the biggest heart in the building. You can have an incredible collegiate pedigree. But when that deadline hits, the front office strips all the emotion away. They only see the numbers. Right now, the Seahawks coaching staff isn't just out there looking for raw talent. They are searching for absolute certainty. Every single block, every route run, every split-second read on defense is being microscopically evaluated in the dark of the film room. For the players we're about to analyze, surviving these final cuts isn't just about stringing together a couple of good plays. It's about making themselves entirely undeniable to a front office that is constantly, actively looking for a reason to say no. Section 1. Preseason pressure in Nashville. The environment itself down in Tennessee is an absolute crucible, and the timeline these athletes are facing is dwindling incredibly fast. You can practically hear the clock loudly ticking toward cutdown day. The Seahawks and the Titans didn't just show up on Sunday to run a few vanilla plays and go home. They've been locked in a tactical, physical street fight all week. It started with those intense joint practices on Friday, which really served as the violent appetizer for the weekend. When two different NFL teams practice against one another, the intensity skyrockets immediately. Tempers flare, fights break out, because it's no longer the guy you eat breakfast with lined up across from you. It's a hostile opponent actively trying to embarrass you in front of your own general manager. Now we shift to the Sunday preseason clash under the stadium lights, where every single high-definition camera angle will capture their successes and their failures. And looming right immediately after that, the final roster cuts. This timeline is a total pressure cooker. There is no time to nurse a minor hamstring tweak. There is no time to slowly digest the nuances of the playbook. The window to prove you belong in this league is violently slamming shut. That quote right there, pulled directly from the reality of this weekend, is the defining truth for these bubble players. Because there are only 2 preseason games left on the schedule, every single rep on the field is a desperate fight for career survival. I really want you to think about what a precious snap actually means in the context of an NFL film room. It means you absolutely cannot take a single play off. If you're a receiver running a decoy route on the backside of a running play where you know you're not getting the ball, the coaches are watching the tape on Monday to see if you block with maximum violent effort anyway. If you're a defensive lineman, they are scrutinizing your hand placement on a double team, even if the ball carrier goes entirely the opposite way. Every snap is a tiny, vital puzzle piece. It's either building your case to stay or it's building the case for the general manager to hand you your walking papers. Let's move to Section 2. Jalen Milroe's last stand. The quarterback position is arguably the most heavily scrutinized job in all of professional sports. When you are fighting for your life at QB, you aren't just out there battling the opposing defense. You're fighting the depth chart, and you're fighting the inevitable, incoming influx of new talent. Right now, Milroe is facing a massive convergence of obstacles that are severely restricting his opportunities to prove his worth. He arrived in this league with an athletic profile that promised dynamic, game-breaking playmaking. But here's the thing about the pros. Potential has to become production, and it has to happen immediately. The film from last week against the Dallas Cowboys showed only marginal improvement from last year. And I'll tell you right now, in the NFL, marginal improvement is a massive red flag. Add to that, looking ahead, Sam Darnold is expected to take snaps against the Chiefs. Furthermore, Drew Lock is going to eat up a massive chunk of whatever playing time is left. This creates a severe, suffocating bottleneck. Jalen's opportunities to make an impression are going to be limited to absolute scraps. He doesn't have the luxury of getting into a rhythm over 3/4 of football. He has to be electric from the very second his cleats touch the grass. But the biggest long-term threat to Milroe, it isn't just the guys standing on the opposing sideline, and it isn't even the guys in his own quarterback room. It's the kids playing on college campuses right now. The business side of the NFL is ruthless. General managers are always looking 2, 3, sometimes 4 years down the line. It is a verified fact that the upcoming 2027 draft class is incredibly rich with elite collegiate quarterback talent. Now, why does that matter for a preseason game today? Because a deep draft class means front offices have zero incentive to hold on to a developmental player who isn't progressing fast enough. If Milroe doesn't give this coaching staff an undeniable, flashing neon reason to keep him in the building, the upcoming offseason becomes a completely effortless opportunity for Seattle to simply pivot away from him. This game against the Titans isn't just an exhibition. It might very well be his absolute final shot to convince the Seahawks he is a piece of their future rather than a part of their past.
Section 3. Filling Jake Bobo's shoes. In professional football, opportunity rarely arrives neatly packaged with a bow on top. It usually comes disguised as chaos, arriving directly on the heels of a teammate's misfortune. During Friday's highly physical joint practice with the Titans, Jake Bobo suffered an injury. This is a critical blow for the locker room because Bobo's primary value to this team was heavily rooted in his special teams utility. He was a guy who gladly did the dirty work on coverage units. Now, a massive void exists. While reports do indicate Montari Foster Jr. seems good to go, there is still a glaring opening for a very specific type of contributor on the bottom of this roster. The roster door has violently swung open, and right now the coaching staff is scrambling to see who is going to sprint through it first. This leaves the front office weighing a difficult, classic NFL personnel dilemma. Do they go with the youthful, cost-effective upside of Emmanuel Henderson Jr., or do they lean on the established veteran presence of Cody White? It's a fascinating contrast. On one hand, you have Cody White. He is the clubhouse leader for this available spot right now. He knows the system inside and out, and coaches inherently trust veterans not to make critical mental errors when the game is on the line. But on the other hand, Henderson was an absolute special teams whiz during his college days. He possesses the exact athletic profile needed to run down on punts and kicks at top speed and create total chaos. More importantly, and this is the secret language of the NFL, this comes down to salary cap mathematics. In a hard cap league, every single dollar matters. If John Schneider and the front office believe they can get similar special teams production from a player on a rookie contract, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars against the cap compared to paying a veteran minimum, they will make that ruthless financial decision 10 times out of 10. But here's the catch. Being a special teams ace, that only gets your foot in the door. To actually secure a precious spot on the 53-man roster as a wide receiver, Henderson jumping the line entirely depends on him proving he can catch the football against an NFL defense. The coaching staff already knows he can make an open field tackle on a punt return, but what happens when it's 3rd and 4? The rain is pouring down in the fourth quarter, and the quarterback needs a reliable target. Can he run a crisp slant route? Can he create separation against a Titans cornerback who is fighting just as hard for his own job? If Henderson can make just a few splash plays on offense under the lights this evening, that combination of financial flexibility and youthful upside might just allow him to leapfrog Cody White entirely on the depth chart. Moving to Section 4, Mike Morris on the edge. For Mike Morris, everything comes down to this single number, representing the ticking clock of his contract. 1. He has just 1 year left on his deal, and that introduces a severe, undeniable financial urgency to his performance this weekend. In the NFL, when you enter the final year of your rookie deal without an extension already in place, you are officially on notice. The organization is no longer heavily invested in your long-term development. They want an immediate return on their investment. If a player in a contract year doesn't show undeniable, game-changing value, teams are incredibly quick to cut ties. They'll save the cap space and hand those valuable reps over to a younger player with more years of team control. Morris isn't just playing for a spot on the 2024 Seattle Seahawks. He is fighting for his entire financial future in this league. To complicate matters even further, the trenches in the NFL are a brutal, highly technical world of leverage and hyper-specific assignments. Morris is built like a traditional interior lineman. The problem? The team is already incredibly deep on the inside, with guys like Brandon Peely. That reality is forcing Morris to adapt to a very specific, challenging outside role just to survive. The coaching staff sees a strategic advantage in utilizing him as an oversized edge rusher. If you think back to the golden era of Seahawks football, those legendary, terrifying Legion of Boom defensive fronts, this organization has a rich, celebrated history of utilizing heavy, powerful men. Think about Michael Bennett or Red Bryant. They'd stand them up on the outside, asking them to use sheer brute force to collapse the pocket. It's a devastating tactic, but it requires a completely different skill set. It requires different footwork, a different get-off, and a deep understanding of outside leverage that Morris is desperately trying to master on the fly. The reality of modern NFL defense is that you desperately need a deep rotation of edge rushers to keep your star players fresh for the fourth quarter. Right now, the Seahawks are specifically hunting for a fifth guy in that rotation. They're looking for a player who might only see 10 to 15 highly specialized snaps a game, but who can come in on obvious passing downs and absolutely wreak havoc. Last week, the coaching staff watched the tape from the Dallas game hoping someone would loudly claim this role.
Nobody did. The silence from the defensive line was deafening. And what that means is the door is completely off its hinges right now for Mike Morris to walk right through. The opportunity isn't just knocking, it is begging to be taken. Despite the incredibly difficult positional transition and the immense pressure of playing in a contract year, the tape from last week actually showed a major silver lining. Morris proved he could penetrate the line of scrimmage and blow up the backfield. In the National Football League, disruption is currency. He got into the backfield, he ruined the timing of the play. If he can take those isolated, brilliant flashes from last week and turn them into a consistent, terrifying reality for the Titans' backup quarterbacks this Sunday, the coaching staff will have absolutely no choice. They will have to carve out that fifth edge rusher role specifically for him. Which brings us to Section 5, the final roster countdown. As the stadium lights go up in Nashville, the coaching staff is watching every single movement, every single breath these guys take on the field. We have walked through the intense, microscopic battles happening inside the margins of this single football game. We've seen a quarterback backed into a corner with his future on the line. We've seen a young receiver trying to capitalize on the chaos of an injury. And we've seen a defensive lineman fighting the physical reality of his own position to secure his financial future. This is the sweat, the anxiety, and the fierce competition that builds championship-caliber depth in the NFL. So, based on the financial stakes, the injuries, and the fierce competition we've outlined today, who do you believe will truly capitalize on these precious final snaps? Will Milroe defy the looming threat of that 2027 draft class? Will Henderson's youth and special teams prowess overtake veteran stability? Or will Morris prove he is the oversized edge rusher this defense so desperately needs? Let me know your definitive predictions down in the comments. And listen, if you want more premium, cinematic breakdowns explaining the brutal realities of this game, make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus. Hit that like button on this explainer and consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. Until next time, keep your eyes on the guys fighting in the trenches, because that's where the real stories are told.